All right, welcome to lesson 1 of the PMP exam prep course. Lesson 1 is going to be about creating a high performance team. So we're going to go through these different points, which are build a team, define team ground rules, negotiate project agreements, empower team members and stakeholders, train team members and stakeholders, engage and support virtual teams, build a shared understanding about a project. So first topic is build a team. So this is the list of deliverables and tools at your disposal. So we have skills list that we need to look into, technologies available at hand. We need to do a resource management plan. We need to define the rates and also do the resource assignment. So the tools that we can use is the Rachi matrix, for instance, pre-assignment tools, and virtual teams. Project resource management includes the processes to identify, acquire, and manage the human resources needed to successfully complete a project. So let's look into the definition of a project team. A project team is a set of individuals who support the project manager in performing the work of the project to achieve its objectives. So in order to be able to assemble a high-performing project team, you need to do the following steps. So first off, estimate, acquire, and manage teams of people, as well as human resources required outside of the team, like for special skills and stuff. And then you would need to create an effective team environment with excellent communication and development capabilities. And last off, track team performance, create an executive improvements based on feedback, resolve issues, and manage team personnel charges. You need also to look into the project team member requirements. So initially you need to ensure that relevant skills or skill sets to perform work and produce the desired results. So basically you need to avoid single point of failure, for instance a certain set of skills are belonging to a single individual, and in case he's not available, then you get an issue with the execution of your project. So basically a single resource has the required skill. And then leverage core competencies and skills of general specialists to support other areas of the project. And finally, adequate physical resources are available. Example, equipment, other requirements, as well as access rights and stuff like that. Then we're going to look at stakeholders. So what are stakeholders? A stakeholder is an individual, group, or organization that may be affected by or perceive itself to be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of the project, programs, or portfolio. And as you can see in this slide, you have the different types of project stakeholders. We have the customers, suppliers, end users, community, government, employees, managers, and sponsors. And next off, you need to do the stakeholder identification. So identify the people, usually done during the project charter development, continues as needed throughout the project. Analyze and document stakeholder interest, involvement, interdependencies, influence, and potential impact on the project success. Look for additional stakeholders in change logs, issue logs, or requirement documents as work progresses. And then you will need to create a register. The stakeholder register may be affected by organizational environment factors. Project plans should describe stakeholders and the planned engagement model. Refer to stakeholder registers from previous projects. So you got at your disposal different tools and techniques to identify stakeholders. So you have expert judgment, data gathering, questionnaire and surveys, brainstorming, as well as data analysis. There is a stakeholder analysis and document analysis. Also, we have stakeholder mapping. So we could either do two-dimensional grids, like for example power interest, power influence, or impact influence, stakeholder cube, directions of influence, and meetings. So during the official PMP exam prep course, the trainer will go into details in every one of these points and show you examples and potentially do some activities to further understand every one of these points here. And then you have the stakeholder register. So what's a stakeholder register? It's a list of individuals and organizations who are actively involved in the project, whose interests may be negatively or positively affected by the performance or completion of the project, and whose needs or expectations need to be considered. So here is an example of a stakeholder register. We can look at the different names here. So we have Linda Michaels. She's the CEO. So her role in the project is the sponsor. Major requirements. She's going to look after budget, schedule, quality, expectations, community involvement, influence, major influence, area of interest, community, internal, external. Of course, it's an internal stakeholder. Supporter, yes. And then you're gonna have like Ron Gordon, project role. He's the mortgage lenders. Expectation, growth, and then influence is major. Areas of interest, development. He's an external, and he's a supporter of the project. And then we have the community. So neighborhood improvements, influence is minor. Areas of interest, house, and it's obviously an external stakeholder, and it's a supporter of the project. Andrew's family, so these are the homeowners. Expectations, so we need to engage family and friends. They don't have any influence, area of interest, or they're not classified as either internal or external, but they're a supporter of the project, and so on and so forth. So one of the tools we saw previously that lets you build your team is the RACHI chart. What is it exactly? So a common type of responsibility assignment matrix. It's going to define who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who needs to be informed. And here is an example of the RACHI chart. So we have different activities on the left column here. Basically create blueprints, manufacture circuit boards, test circuit boards, order components, and assemble. And we're gonna see a check accordingly what are the we're gonna categorize each and every one of the stakeholders of the team, or the team members here. We have let's go through the team members: project manager, engineering manager, quality assurance manager, purchasing manager, manufacturing manager. So we're gonna classify each and every one of them: who's responsible, who's accountable, who's consulted, and who needs to be informed. So for the project manager, he's accountable for the creation of the blueprints. He needs to be informed in the manufacturing of circuit boards, test circuit boards, and the assembly. And he needs to be consulted for the ordering of the components. So what about the engineering manager? The engineering manager is responsible for creating blueprints and testing the circuit boards. Whereas he's accountable for manufacturing of the circuit boards, and he needs to be consulted in the ordering of the equipment or the components and the assembly. And you can pause the video at any time on this slide and any others to further check and read through the literature or the examples that we're going to look into. And by the way, this the lesson one is pretty long. It has 112 slides, so I'm probably going to split it in several parts, probably around 20 minutes each. So I would guess it's going to be like in 2-3 episodes, or maybe 4 episodes. Alright, so next up we're going to look into the team skills appraisal. Appraisals enable the team to holistically identify its strengths and weaknesses, assess opportunities for improvement, build trust, and establish effective communication. Appraisals might identify team preference, aspirations, information processing and organization, decision-making processes, interactions with other team members. So you're gonna have a pre-assignment tools at your disposal that you can use to assess the candidate before assigning and confirming team roles. These are, for instance, attitudinal surveys, specific assessments, structured interviews, ability tests, focus groups. Another aspect of the team that you need to look into as a project manager is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Project teams are global and diverse in culture, gender, physical ability, language, etc. So, in order to create an environment that optimizes the team's diversity and build climate of mutual trust, you need to focus on the objectives that are improve trust, raise team morale, reduce conflict, and support teamwork, create a collaborative culture to improve individual and team performance, and facilitate cross-training and mentoring, empower the team to participate in decision making and own the solutions they create. All right, now let's look into the resource management plan. So what's a resource management plan? The project document that identifies resources and how to acquire, allocate, and monitor and control them is the resource management plan. The resource management plan will define the roles and responsibilities. So the role is a person's function in a project. Authority rights to use resources, make decisions, accept deliverables. Responsibilities is the assigned duties. Competence is the skills and capabilities required. And then the resource management plan is also has also basically a plan for the project. So you're gonna have the project organization chart, the project team resource management, basically team resource guidance and how to define, staff, manage, and release. It also needs to have training strategies and requirements, team development methods, resource controls to manage physical resources, and also recognition plan, how to reward, recognize team members. For the virtual teams, and this is very relevant, especially after COVID-19. So these are team members that share goals but spend little or no time meeting face to face, and addressing their needs takes some different skills. So some virtual team considerations that we need to take in mind. First off is the advantages maybe to having virtual teams is we can be able to find ideal skill sets through using virtual teams. We don't have any like location boundaries or limitations, so we basically can get skills from all around the world. and also within the same country from different towns and stuff. So I know the other thing is you can have a lower workplace costs. Obviously, everybody's working from home, or most of the team members are working from home, so that saves a lot of costs in terms of office rental and AC and heating expenses and stuff like that. And also, you would be able to avoid relocation costs and expenses in case you hire new members and they need to move to a different town or a different country. The second thing is the challenges related to virtual teams. Mainly, it's managing communications. It's going to be challenging. It's not the same thing of managing communication when everybody's in the same office, or compared to when everyone is working from home and you need to like uh, keep communication channels virtually through like chat software and so on, and emails and so on. Um, Consequently, enabling effective team performance would be a challenge, and also bonding and team dynamic may be difficult to develop due to the remote, due to the fact that most of the employees, or many of the employees, are working remotely. And the third thing is that to consider is the techniques that needs to be used and implemented in order to boost the performance of the team and or to manage the team, the virtual team rather. Um, so try communication technology for discussion. Many communications technologies can be used and to improve the communication between the team members. Mainly, the project manager needs to focus on calendar management, Kanban boards, and other information radiators that allow him to monitor the performance of the team. So here, still in the project management plan, responsibility needs to be assigned to the different team members. So what needs to be considered is basically technical and soft factors. Like experience, knowledge, skills. Those are the technical. For the soft factors, we're looking at attitude, global, regional representation. So we have two approaches here, agile and traditional. So for the agile, the team will basically self-organize itself and assess the work requirements and determine who will work on what. For the traditional, you need to assign work to team members with a work breakdown structure. We'll look into that later on in the course. So next off is rates. So the project manager is responsible for considering resource cost factors, meet resource requirements cost effectively and based on project needs, sustainability of the resources. Sustainability of resources stands for availability, experience, knowledge, skills, attitude, and regional linguistic representation. So for the resource assignment, the project manager needs to create a project management plan that includes team members assigned to the project, their roles and responsibility, project team directory, project organization chart, and as well as project schedule. Sorry. So a crucial step into the project management is nurturing team performance. A project manager needs to ensure that the team has the knowledge, skills, attributes, and experience to produce positive project outcomes. Obviously, some of the team members will have some gaps in the skill sets when compared to the customer needs. So these gaps needs to be checked frequently and addressed as soon as possible. So basically, you're gonna need to train your team members to close these gaps. And yeah, basically, you can also do additional customer engagement to gather data to this is to frequently analyze these gaps and try to close them, basically with training. Another good way to close the gap in knowledge between the team members is do a knowledge transfer in and between teams. You need to facilitate collaboration and promote visibility of work, manage knowledge sharing among team members, especially on virtual teams. Also check the team charter for knowledge sharing methods, including frequency of updates, version control, supporting tools, and agreed approach to their use. And finally, use information radiators to provide seamless visibility into project status across the stakeholder community. So next on topic B, which is define team ground rules. So here we have two deliverables, which are team charter and team norms, and the tools that you use to provide these deliverables is negotiation skills, conflict management, brainstorming, and ethics. So team norms. So basically, you need to establish expected team behaviors at the beginning of the project, so that the teams um, will be facing a set of challenges during the project progress, and so you need to provide them with guidelines and techniques to handle these challenges, basically. So the main guidelines and techniques needs to be used for handling challenges is meetings, communications, conflict management, shared values, and decision making. Also, you can align with PMI's code of ethics and professional conduct as well. And these are the PMI code of ethics and professional conduct. We have responsibility. Each and every one of the team members is responsible. Respect. We respect each other as teams and team members. Fairness. We need to be fair to each other. And honesty. We need to be honest towards our peers and colleagues. And these are basically PMI's code of ethics and professional conducts. Obviously, each organization could have its own code of ethics, but they should be similar to PMI's, uh, as you can see here. So we have looked at the team norm. Now we're gonna move to team charter. So what's a team charter? A team charter is a document that enables the team to establish its values, agreements, and practices as it performs its work together. A team charter can include shared values, guidelines for communications and use of tools, decision-making guidelines, conflict resolution measures, meeting time, frequency, and channel. Other team agreements, for example, shared hours, improvement activities, etc. So again, a team charter includes shared values, guidelines for communication and use of tools, decision-making guidelines, conflict resolution measures, meeting time, frequency, and channel, other team agreements, for example, shared hours, improvement activities. So regarding ground rules, what are ground rules? So as defined in the team charter, clear expectations set regarding the code of conduct for team members. So again, ground rules. So ground rules are really important. They set the expectations um, of any member of the team, of his or her other members of the team, what to expect from them, and what the team members expect from him or her as well. So this includes what's acceptable and unacceptable for team behavior, And the benefits are sets performance and communication expectations, decreases the risk of confusion, improves team performance. Yeah, so in order to have like a fair game, everyone needs to know the rules of the game, and these are the ground rules. Another important skill is the negotiation skills. Um, this includes internal and external conversation towards reaching agreements. So, determine reliable methods to ensure communication is aimed at reaching consensus. This keeps the team culture healthy. And team members might negotiate roles and responsibility priorities assignments. So, in any given project or endeavor, um, I mean, negotiation is really critical and crucial. Um, in any given project, we have like conflicts and misunderstandings and stuff, and these needs to be clarified. And in order to bring the team members together on a consensus, they need to be able to negotiate between each other and to show what their expectations and to reach a middle ground to avoid any uh, endless conflicts and so on. All right, so now on to internal and external team member communication. So communication is needs to be done regularly. Collaboration between team and external teams or stakeholders. Manage expectations effectively among stakeholders. Include communication protocols in team charter. So team charter needs to define internal communications, team meetings, sharing calendar, etc., and all as well as external communication with stakeholders and etc. Like stakeholder feedback, dependency management, alignment with goals or expectations. Conflict management. Um, so in order to have a successful project, you need to apply strategy or resolution methods to deal with disagreements. This can either lead to improved understanding, performance, and productivity, or to ineffective conflict management, which leads to destructive behavior, animosity, poor performance, and reduced productivity. And now that you have the ground rules set, you need also to set the ground rule violations. So basically, you need to establish ground rules in the team charter, focus on core values, including accountability, shared expectation, transparency, and then the team and the project manager need to respond to the violations of the ground rules. And for serious violations, you may need to remove or replace the offending team member. And this concludes our part 103 of the first lesson, which is creating a high performing team. In the next lesson, we're going to look at part 2 of 3 of this first lesson. So see you on the next video. Thank you for watching.